Thanks for your time today, Jeff. It's great to talk to you.
All right, it's great to talk to you too.
You guys are coming back to Australia, which is very exciting. How far back does your relationship with Australia go? I know that you did tour with the Hoodoo Gurus at some point.
We met the Hoodoo Gurus in the early 80s. I mean, in the
Okay.
mid 80s, the first time they played in America. And we just stayed in touch with those guys. And then later we met the Hard-Ons at our rehearsal studio. We shared with our friend Dave Nasworthy, and he invited them to come and hang out and stay with him in Beverly Hills for a while on their first tour. And we became friends with those guys. And then we met Tim and the UMI guys in the 90s. So it goes back to decades of friends.
So did you have an immediate connection with the Hoodoo Gurus guys? Because I've been a lifelong fan of theirs, and I actually just finished watching your documentary, and particularly, I think, was it around the Third Eye era when you toured with them? And because the sound seems to cross over and mingle so much with the Gurus when I listened to both bands, and even the
Right.
way you guys were kind of dressing as well, it seemed like there was a bit of a kinship there.
Well, there's definitely a kinship. We became really good friends with Brad, especially
Hmm.
because Brad, he was dating a friend of mine at the time. So, like, we saw him a lot. Yeah, we were all in the 60s music, 70s glam, pop, the perfect pop song. So, yeah, there was a definite kinship.
And kind of
Definitely.
film references too. I know Dave Faulkner's always referenced a lot of movies and things in his lyrics as well, and it seems like you guys are doing that in the early days.
Right. I think it's just our kind of our age group. I mean, I'm sure it's not much different in Australia for people my age to be basically raised by the television. So
Yeah.
there's so much, all of us in that generation, it just kind of seeped into our DNA and it became part of our art.
Were there any other Australian bands you were sort of listening to over in the States around that time? Was there any particular band that sort of made its way to California?
Well, from the very beginning, like from the very, very earliest days of the earliest punk rock, I loved the Saints
Yep.
because for some reason I was able to get their records, and so from the moment their records were available, especially the first album available in the States, I was an instant fan. But as far as like Aussie rock and all the other stuff, we didn't really know that much, learn that much about it until we started going to Australia.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
started traveling, and then our friends would hip us to things, and then we realized there was a whole other universe there. That was very similar to ours, but very different. And it's just I don't know. It's a place that I love very much. I love going to Australia.
Obviously, you've got this great new album, the double album. What can we expect from the tour? Will you be playing a lot of that?
Yeah, sure. We will. We'll be playing that, but then we have this insane catalog, and we're really in touch with our longtime fans via social media and stuff. So yeah, we're just going to try to make something that's going to make sense for these particular shows thematically with these shows.
It's interesting because I mean, while you guys have always sort of sounded like yourself, there's obviously been left and right turns here and there sonically. So it'd be interesting to, I mean, it'd be hard as well to sort of put together a set list that kind of covers every album. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also, well, it's hard and it's easy depending. Like sometimes if we do like a tour with another group, for instance, like we did a whole European American double bill with the Melvins.
Hmm.
So we kind of went to our more bizarre, psychedelic, and heavy songs for that tour.
Of course.
So we're able to kind of pick and choose. So that's what it does become like it's a little bit too many choices at times.
This album, I mean, I'm sure people have said this, but I mean, it feels like in a discography of really great records, it might be your best album. Have
Oh,
people been
thank you.
saying that to you at all? Am I the only one to say that?
No, we've been getting a lot of very good people have really let us know that they're shocked that we can still make some of our best music now at this particular phase in our career.
Mm.
And I just say, I just say we're not used up yet because we've never been that prolific. So we still
Mm.
have a lot of songs left.
Well, clearly, I mean, a double record is, I guess, as ambitious for any band. I mean, did anything about the making of this album feel different to other records?
Well, yeah, it was approached slightly different. Stephen and I wrote together on a lot of it, and usually I would write by myself or he would write by himself. So we did a lot of just collaborating and writing all in a short period of time. And so when we collected all the songs, and we worked with our producer Josh Klinghoffer
Mhm.
at his studio, and we hadn't worked with the producer for a while. We always just started doing our own recordings, and it was really fun. We've known Josh forever, and he ended up, playing drums,
Mm.
with us because Dale was recovering from surgery, so it was fun having our producer actually playing the drums. So we would just show him the basic chord structure to a song, and then we would just work it out really quickly and lay it down in one or two takes, which is not the way we've always done in the past. In the past, we were usually like everything was laid out. We had all of our arrangements well rehearsed, and we go in and lay it down in the studio. So this time it was more, it was a little bit more like free flowing. It was fun this way.
Why do you think you collaborated more with Stephen this time? What was there any particular reason for that?
Well, Stephen has a really intense schedule. Like, he plays with us and he plays with the Melvins. Melvins tour a lot,
Yep.
and he wanted to make a record, and I said, okay, let's do it. But I was just spaced out and didn't think at all about scheduling. So he basically, he just brought out the whip and made me go to his house to write songs, and I just showed up. We had a lot of things going on. We had an album, and then we had a documentary and a book all at
Yeah.
the same time. So it was a little tricky trying to get everything to kind of come out at once.
So you basically started the writing from scratch, is that fair to say? Like, was there any sort of pre-existing songs, sort of or parts of songs?
Yeah, I always have song ideas, and Steven actually wrote more on this record as a solo than he ever has.
Mm.
And so that was really fun working on his stuff. We always will have our own songs, but then, there's always stuff we collab on.
And does the sound of each album does it come out fairly organically, or is there a bit of a conversation that takes place before that sort of, let's do something like this time, or does it sort of just happen on its own?
It happened on its own. I mean, with this record, it was more about like, we're just learning the songs and getting the tracks down. We kind of approached almost every song the same. It would be like drums, bass, and I would play an acoustic guitar rhythm,
Mm.
which I
Yeah.
never did before, which was just interesting. And then we would just layer on our overdubs after that. So
Mm.
because everything just happened really fast, it just felt so much different. We had to kind of rely on what we are naturally. That's
Mm.
why that's why when I heard the record in its entirety, it kind of sounded like just like this kind of combination of everything we'd ever done before. And
Mm.
it was like, but it was not our intention to make this variety show album. It kind of just turned out that way.
And given that there's so many tracks too, it does sound pretty cohesive though. It's not, there's definitely a through line to all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, probably because there's a big chunk of it we wrote closely together.
45 years or so, or maybe more now. What does it feel like to be in the band in 2025 compared to decades past? Does it feel different this time around?
Well, we just finished like several months of touring. So having that experience and being international and, having this like legacy as compared to like being 1979 when we were first starting, it's very different.
Mm.
It's very different.
So I guess it feels like you're sort of reaping the rewards of decades of hard work, I suppose.
Yeah, we've been around long enough to come in and out of fashion,
Mm.
like I mean, we've always maintained like this hardcore connection with like certain people, and certain groups of people have been with us forever. But yeah, it's like we've ridden all the waves from punk rock to psychedelic garage to grunge,
Mm.
and then during the 80s college rock, frat rock, everything. We've experienced it all. So
You've found an audience clearly that's come on that journey and been prepared to go on that journey with you, I suppose, when you do shift up the sound a little bit.
yes, yeah. I mean, our whole philosophy is just to give the show that we want to see, which I know is a very simple
Mm.
concept. And there's Kiss and Slade and groups like that. That's what their whole thing is as well. But we grew up going to like these mega rock concerts when we were kids, before the punk era. It was like seeing the Faces and Kiss and Led Zeppelin and all these people at our local arena. So when punk rock came around, it kind of demystified a lot of the arena rock, we found that we needed to kind of find a happy medium because a lot of our friends in the indie world were so self-consciously indie about it and punk rock and avoided the kind of rock star glamour and mystique that we realized we need that punk rock needed at the time. So we were able to, pull from our old arena rock, influences as well.
You were from a town synonymous with the Beach Boys, as the doco kind of opens with. Was your attraction to punk rock partly because it was sort of an antithesis in some ways to what the Beach Boys were doing, had done?
No, actually, when I first heard the Ramones, it was the first time that I'd heard music that sounded to me that like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. And
Mm.
it was like this return to that basic pop rock and roll that the 70s were moving so far away from.
Yeah.
And it was the music that I was brought up on from an early age. So when the Ramones came out, it was like rediscovering the Beatles and then
Mm.
everything else that went with it, And in Los Angeles in the pre-hardcore punk rock days, like the first wave of bands in LA, a lot of people came from like art scenes and it was a big mixed nuts of just like really weird people. So the bands were really interesting. California bands were extremely interesting. So it was really a fun thing for us to be little kids and kind of just be able to observe while we're kind of slowly trying to learn how to do it ourselves.
But right at the beginning of the doco, someone says something to the effect of, Red Cross were cool because you didn't care about being cool. But from watching the documentary, there was clearly thought put into how you looked, and it was clearly your version of what you thought was cool, though, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, we wanted to be what we wanted to see. I know I already said that, but that was it.
Yeah.
And that was like, not always in line or in tune with what, the people we would present ourselves to. I
Mm.
mean, we would sometimes go in front of people who would gasp or laugh at us or, and that was a part of the thrill. I mean, we were kind of early trolls in that sense. So yeah, we didn't give a shit what people thought, but we did want them to think we were cool because we wanted to be cool. But it was like what we thought was cool, which whatever that was at that given time.
If you had heard this new album back then and someone told you this is how you're going to sound in 45 years, what do you think you would have made of the album back then?
Well, Born Innocent, I don't know, conceptually, it's kind of was approached in a very similar manner. So
Okay.
I don't know. It makes sense to me in my brain. But if you're going to go back to our very first recordings,
Mm.
the first EP, our punk rock days,
Mm.
yeah, it would have been baffling. It would have been baffling because I mean, that the music that we play now didn't really exist in the exact form that we play it then.
Like a heavier power pop, I suppose. Is that how you sort of view it?
Yeah, well, yeah, just everything in the kitchen sink is tossed in,
Yeah.
conceptually, you know, musically, it would be very foreign to me, like from when I was like 15. But,
Yeah.
but when I was 17, we were already kind of so out there that it wouldn't have surprised me.
How do you approach lyrics these days? Is it still largely the same as you've always approached them? And or is there differences in kind of the way you approach them or even the subject matter, the things you're interested in writing about?
Yeah, that's a weird one for me because I have no one way of approaching lyrics. They'll just come to me, or certain ideas will come, and I'll just flesh them out. And sometimes they don't always make sense to me in the moment, but I know there's some bit of honesty there. It doesn't make me cringe, so I know I'm on the right track. And then, like years later, certain songs will really ring true that I couldn't have really told you what they were about when I wrote them. So, yeah, we're just kind of taking, it's kind of mystical and it's a weird thing writing songs, writing, especially lyrics, because I don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
But I know when I don't like them and I know when I like them. And then there's times when I love them, but then there'll be like a line that I can't stand, but I'll usually catch it before we record. So that
Okay.
was like another horrifying thing about making a record so quickly because the whole time I'm just keep going over lyrics in my head. I'm like, I didn't want anything to pass that was kind of a place setting that I wasn't really that into. And so
Mm.
that was a little bit frantic. Yeah, my lyric process writing is very frantic. It's just, I can't describe it. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Just like the songs I produce.
I mean, I just wanted to ask about the documentary. Are you happy with it? I mean, I imagine it would have been hard for the filmmaker to capture the entire career of the band in 90 minutes. What are your
Yeah.
overall feelings of on the documentary?
I really enjoyed it because when we decided to kind of turn over, our story to someone else, you can't have any control or any say in it.
Yep.
So it's like Andrew Reich was the director, so it's basically his observations. It's how he sees us. I mean, for us, it's abstract because a documentary is like 90 minutes, and we've lived millions of minutes within our group. So I was happy. I was very happy with it when it came out, and it's been really fun seeing it with audiences, and
Hmm.
and so yeah. But it's
If
weird. It's weird.
if you'd made it, if you'd chosen to make it up yourself about the band, is there anything in particular or fundamental that you might have been included that's not, do you think?
No, it would have been impossible. It would have been impossible to because you don't really know. I can only think like in terms of maybe like when we first started out and the beginnings of the band, but after that, it's a big mush. So having someone else go through your history and kind of put it in order was like incredible, an incredible luxury. I don't think I would have had the energy to do that.
Yeah, fair enough. There's got a couple of questions left. In researching the band, I came across the fact that you were a regular at Video Archives where
Yeah.
Tarantino and Roger worked, which, being a film geek myself, sort of jumped out. Is it kind of strange that I guess for you it was just a video store, but now it's become this cultural touchstone that's now got this reverence, I guess?
Yeah, yeah, because Video Archive started out as a place called Video Outtakes, and it was the only video store at all and where anywhere near where we lived. So yeah, it was fun to meet other film geeks, and and it was really hard finding underground films because they weren't available on video yet. So when it eventually turned into Video Archives, and knowing Chuck and Roger and Quentin, it was just always fun to go there and just chat, just
Yeah, nice.
ramble on about movies and pop culture.
And I read that his monologue in Reservoir Dogs is pretty much inspired by you guys. Is that right? But Madonna?
Yeah, the Madonna one. And yeah, I forgot. It was a conversation that me and Quentin had. It was about Like a Virgin, Madonna. And I didn't know until the movie came out and Roger Avery says, Quentin stole that from you. And I didn't consider it stealing. I thought it was hilarious that he used a conversation we had.
Yeah, it's very cool. What's next for the band? Do you think you'll make another album?
Yeah, yeah. Steven wants to get busy on another record. So obviously he's been working on some songs. So yeah, I'll jump in and we'll start it. And I have no idea what we're gonna do next. I mean, obviously, we haven't done like the rock opera yet. So we were gonna do one in '84. So who knows? It might happen.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you in Newcastle.
Okay, we look forward to it.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.